Thank you very much for meeting with us today. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about your group and your work.
Certainly. We are part of a local autism and learning difficulties charity called Sycamore Trust, which was formed in the last few years for the merger of parents of autistic children together and Barking and Dagenham Mencap. Our project is called the Autism Ambassadors. We were set up in 2010 in response to local incidents involving a lack of autism awareness. We support people with autism to deliver presentations on what it's like to have autism and how they can be supported. We are on the spectrum ourselves too, so it feels really empowering to talk about our own condition rather than having other people explain about us. Our presentations include personal examples, interactive activities, and end with a question and answer session, so that our audiences hopefully leave as well informed as they can be after an hour's training.
You educate people about autism. I wonder if you could tell us what is autism?
Absolutely. On a diagnostic level, autism is a spectrum of difficulties that we share. To be diagnosed, you have to have difficulties that fall into all 4 areas of the quadrant of impairments. So number 1, difficulties with socialising with other people, such as starting conversations, eye contact, an appropriate level of politeness. And they're basically the social rules that usually come naturally to people. Number 2, difficulties with communication. So we may take language literally, we may parrot what we hear without really understanding it, and we may be non-verbal and unable to talk. This includes body language as well, which understanding both other people's and our own. Number 3, difficulties with flexibility of thought. So imagine how other people feel how to solve situations that come up, working out what task to do first. It can all get really confusing. And finally, number 4, difficulties with sensory issues. So we might find certain stimuli or being in certain environments really unpleasant. On the other hand, we may also get fixated on sensory experiences that feel pleasant to us. Or we may not register it at all. So we may be injured, but it doesn't hurt that much, so we ignore it. A broken wrist might be less unpleasant than a doctor touching you to check it, for example.
Our work is about bullying, disability and well-being. Do you think that your work helps stop bullying and disability hate crime?
Yes and no. So I think knowing and understanding is always better than ignorance. Young people with autism can easily end up being misunderstood by their peers who think that we're being unintentionally difficult when actually it's just that we're not understanding the social situations. And this can make it even more difficult for us to fit in and to have friends or just simply get on with the people around us. So knowing that there's a reason why we act differently and see things differently can be really important, both with how other people see us and with our own self-esteem. It means that we're not just otherwise normal people who are defective or different. It's that actually, we're people with autism who are doing our best to fit in. So rather than the focus being on where we're failing to meet the norm, the focus is then on where we're managing to meet the norm despite our autism. That being said though, you can still know that someone is different or has a disability and still bully that person or not want to allow that person to fit in. So it can't just be that, there still needs to be the support there in place to help people to fit in and to act when bullying incidents do happen.
I wonder if you could share your thoughts about what families, schools and boroughs do to help young people when they are bullied.
Yeah. So I'd like to start off just with, there are too many techniques and approaches to care in general, so it's really important to make it very specific to treat that person with autism as an individual. What might work for lots of people with autism might not work with that one individual in front of you. So it's really important to treat them as an individual. And then once you've done that, then you can research and find all sorts of different ways that may have worked for other people that you can then try out with that person, but with the knowledge that it may not work for them, they may need a different approach. That being said, if we're talking more specifically about bullying, one thing that really helped me personally was peer support. So I was very lucky that my form tutor allowed me to have all my breaks in the form room because I didn't really like it in the playground. There was too much going on there. And then what she did was she allowed other people from my form class and other members of the year group into that form room, and because it was a smaller environment, I found it easier to make friends for the first time in my life. And that understanding that the form group and the year group had for me meant that when bullying incidents did occur, because they understood me and knew me, they were there to back me up and look after me. So that peer support was really, really helpful. Another thing that I think is really important is to be honest about bullying. So when I was deciding what secondary school to go to, one of the places I went to said, "Oh no, he'll definitely not get bullied. We have CCTV cameras and all this and all that, he'll never get bullied." And the one I went to was the one that said, "He will get bullied. He's different, he will almost certainly get bullied. But when he does get bullied, we'll do something about it." And so I think that honesty about it is really, really important.
Yeah, just to say that unfortunately I wasn't as lucky as Alex at school. Unfortunately I was bullied very badly, and I did have one friend at primary school, because this is when the bullying started, when I was at primary school, when I was in about year 5. There was one friend who was really good to me. He sort of liaised with the teachers, saying like, "Look, should I escort Robert down the stairs, you know, make sure no one bullies him on the way home, you know, on the way to meet his mum in the playground." So he sort of did that for a while. But then it seemed like as I grew up, he kind of tailed off a bit, you know, and sort of didn't hang around with me so much. He sort of hung around more with the group of people who were starting to bully me, unfortunately. And yeah, and there was like a small group of people, mostly girls, who sort of looked out for me, and if I had any problems, I could sort of talk to them. But you know, of course, they weren't all around all the time, so I couldn't really sort of rely on them too much. I sort of mostly do it via parents and teachers to talk about my bullying. But unfortunately the bullying didn't really improve until after my GCSEs, because that's when, you know, the bully who used to live at the bottom of my road, basically he moved out, and you know, so it didn't really improve until he moved out and wasn't in the area anymore, that it really started to improve. So basically through all my lower school life I was bullied, but it didn't improve until I started doing my A-levels, and that's when I started mixing with people more and getting into peer groups. So unfortunately.
Finally, what is your message to young people about staying safe, happy and proud?
I think probably the most important thing I can say to them is, please, even if things like bullying that do happen, don't see it as everyone against you. That's sort of how I saw it all the way up till year 9. Because of primary school, it was sort of me versus everyone else, not including the teachers, obviously. I always kind of got on with them. I always saw it as me versus everyone else, and I think that actually made it harder for me to make friends, because I was always on the defensive all the time. And then after year 9, when I realised it wasn't just me versus everyone else, I was more open to making friends, and then that was when I started considering them friends, and it actually became so much better, and I enjoyed school so much more.
That as well?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think my biggest message is, you know, never let bullying go on. You know, as soon as you know bullying's going on, whether it's to you or a friend, to anybody, always make sure you tell someone. So if not your parents, tell your teachers, or if not teachers, Senkos, or escalate it even higher if you need to head teachers. So that's my big message. Always tell if you're being bullied, whether it's you or someone else.
Thank you so much. That was invaluable. Thank you.